before. Tell me your name. What's going on? You're looking hot but feeling so damn cold. Is it a game? Been here before. Let me take you in my arms. Release your child's play. Oh, baby, rest your heart. Riding this old train. Give me your breath the next stop. Silicon Lane, or you gonna change lanes. Take me home, leave me alone. You got all me. There's nothing to get hung up about. I wanna explode, nothing anymore. Come on, take me home, leave me alone. Hey, sweet girl, looking like a roller coaster ride. Bound to kiss you. Ain't nothing in vain. Looking forward to tomorrow's sun. Already I miss you. And it's no crime if you let your body flow. Everything will turn alright. And we can take it slow.
Hello, good morning. I'm Veronica Campbell. I'm here with Arestia and Hugh Riley. And we do have some breaking news. I think we might need to just turn the audio on the TV down. Is that right?
No, it's not.
No.
Oh yeah, it is.
Figures
It's off
it out.
now. It's off
Sweet.
now.
Okay, so now I'm ready for breaking news, which is two London residents who are part of the Indignance media group. They're an anarchist media group that has done a lot of good work before and after Occupy. Mike Roy and Bailey Goldman Sagan, they were arrested in their home last night. A lot of their stuff was confiscated, and they're actually in court this morning. So we might be getting updates as the morning goes on as to what's going on and exactly what the charges are. I think it's mischief. What is being reported right now is that it's mischief and conspiracy. So
Now, can I ask a question
Of
about that?
course.
Because I've never heard of this group, the
Indignance.
Indignants.
Yes.
So my question is, since you're aware of them, what activities have they been involved in that might that you might think the authorities would red flag them enough to go and actually arrest them?
I can speculate that it has something to do with the recent Line 9 protests and the blockade of the Enbridge pump station, which we briefly covered a few weeks ago. We had Secure on the phone talking about how a group of protesters went in with documentation and talked to the workers saying, listen, this isn't working for us. Why don't you just, take the day off and we'll do our stuff with the corporation that we want to do and da-da-da. So they ended up being there for almost a week, not quite. Police came and arrested a bunch of the protesters that remained there. But I would say that that's probably the most likely. It's also the most recent event. So, but that's just speculation.
My only question is then, what are we doing still wandering the streets?
I know, things are getting really scary. I know. I can't tell a lie. The last couple nights I've been like, what am I doing speaking and breathing and eating food? GMO blueberries. I don't know.
Are they GMO?
I'm pretty sure they are. They're huge. They're huge blueberries.
But they're probably not GMO.
Come from like Peru or something.
Well, we don't have the luxury of labels, so we don't know.
No, apparently there's codes that you can see because every product has a little product code on UPC.
Yeah.
There's some coding. If you know the code, you can tell if it's GMO or not.
If you know the
Is it
code.
the number? It's
Yeah,
like
I know.
A 9 or
Something like that. It's
Yeah.
something like a 9.
Something like a 9. An
Watch
upside
out.
down 9 maybe.
An upside down. That's a 6, no?
Yeah, I think so.
Triple six.
Triple 6.
Yeah.
organic.
I don't know what the code is. I remember learning a little bit about codes, like 40 was also something else.
Yeah, I thought 4 in front of it was, but then I went to the grocery store and like all of them have, it's like 4,000 numbers or whatever.
No,
And it's not 4.
it's actually a 9 before the number is organic and an 8 is genetically modified, but the coding really doesn't. If you can switch to my computer, actually, even I've got a page up. But the code, I don't really think necessarily means that you're eating what it says it is. And I think that GMOs kind of integrated our grocery stores so much that it's not. I don't think that's
Wrong
my
computer.
Net one.
That's my
That
computer,
one.
yeah. That's more about the bees, actually. What's up on your screen right now is about the...
A quick question about the indignant groups. The group. Where would people be able to go to like get updates? Do they have a Twitter or do they?
I would
how-
say their Facebook group, probably.
Just checking.
Yeah, their Facebook group is just The Indignants, and you can like it and get all of your updates. And you'll see, actually, Daryl Richardson wrote an article, a brief sort of overview of what happened late last night. So you'll find that and pictures of them up on The Indignants on Facebook. So we'll see if we get some breaking news about that situation in London, Ontario. Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned the bees.
I mentioned the
That's a cool
bees.
thing over there.
I do. I have something awesome, and it is something I made a while ago, actually. This is over a year old, and I was feeling love for the bees, especially the queen bees.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking maybe I do need to put bees down here. God save the queen bees. I like it just sort of. how
No,
it
I don't
is.
think you should.
No, just the.
Because the
just-
bees there, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, you got to leave the gap
Okay.
so
But you
people can
could-
fill it in themselves.
Totally.
You could cut it up and like pin it all together like a Sex Pistols album.
Oh, I do like that.
Yeah, you could do that.
I
Yeah,
do
with the
like
real
that.
bee.
So this is like public property. If you want to make a sign like this or
A T-shirt would be great.
a T-shirt,
Yeah, with
yeah.
yellow and black.
Yellow and black. I like a lot. And just remember that there is a crown on the bee. Like that is what makes the whole thing work.
Because that's a queen bee.
That's the queen bee. And you can do a better bee if you'd like.
It has to have a crown.
But it must have a crown. Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. All
And then
right.
we can make another one that says "God save the drones,"
God save
and
the
we
drone.
put a little drone up there,
The drones.
Totally.
Yeah.
A little R2D2.
right?
Well, yeah. God save the drones. Did you see that there's now a drone for pizza delivery?
What?
What?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, don't tip.
Where?
No, well, in the States, somewhere in the middle, they had a news report last night about Domino's Pizza doing sort of like a promotion, and they were experimenting with drone technology. So it's this like little camera on top of like
R2D2.
well, yeah, almost R2D2. And they sort of, the pizza sort of like sits like hanging off of the machine, and it flies around. And there was a person with a remote control, and apparently they can get it within 5 miles of its destination.
Have someone delivering it, but they're just not interacting with the person one-to-one. And crazy technology would probably cost more than the person's wages.
I have a video if we're not worried about Domino's.
Yeah, we want to see the
Let's
of the
see
drone.
the-
Is it the drone?
The drone pizza
I want to see
delivery.
this.
Check it out.
Is there audio too? Let's put that audio up.
Onion on their heads.
I have a video if
It's
we're not
kind
worried
of a
about
frightening
Domino's.
sound.
Let's see
Let's
the
see the
drone.
sound.
Is it the drone?
The drone pizza delivery.
Is there audio too? Let's put that audio up.
I have a video if
It's
we're not
kind of a
worried
frightening
about
sound.
Domino's.
We want to see the
Let's see the
drone. Is it the drone?
drone pizza delivery. Estimating 10 minutes. Yeah.
Probably hear it as it's approaching.
It's a good idea. Soon
Yeah.
everyone will use drones.
Yeah, everyone's using drones. I think that's part of the plan of the acclimatization to the concept of drones. It's part of the whole corporate plan in the
Totally.
States. Get people comfortable with the whole word and the idea of this remote delivery system of anything. People love pizza. Let's start with pizza. Then bombs, whatever. The same thing.
I have an image of, you know how they have the stork or whatever bringing babies? It's like a drone with it's like the future buried myths of how babies arrive.
That's frightening.
It's also interesting too because the first unmanned.
We have new volunteers. Yay!
So the Canadian on me actually would be better. I don't have anything to pull up, but I'm on 5. Yeah. The Canada-U.S. border, one of the biggest unpatrolled borders in the world, but the first drone arrest happened in our border, unmanned arrest of people illegally crossing the border.
How did they do that? I mean, what
Let me pull
happened?
up this story, but I think they crashed the drones into the back of their knees, pinned them to the ground. No, I don't know. I'll look it up.
Visual review. Okay, so it was the drones that took down these people. Okay. But what if a drone wanted to cross borders?
Oh, I guess they aren't they already?
Yeah.
Drones are crossing borders. Yeah, I believe there was some news when everyone was paying attention to the royal baby who is named, I wonder who's on the phone. So when everyone was paying attention to the royal baby, which I do want to talk about constitutional monarchy and the monarchy in Canada.
I mean,
Yeah. We're looking at the poster now while Hugh's on the phone. Switcheroo. I know, it's hard to do 3 things at once. So everyone's talking about the royal baby, and I have an issue with how some of the media has covered this. I think everyone has a bit of an issue. It was a little, what's it called? Almost like it was the Beatles in 1963, or 64, whatever it was. I don't know. I wasn't alive. But as that was happening, there was legislation being passed in the States making certain kinds of protest illegal. There was drone hits. There was all sorts of things going on. And it's just sort of like, oh, but there's a new baby and there's an heir. And even on ABC News, they even did this composition of what the kid might look like when it's 30. They wasted 5 minutes.
Probably research and people to really create that.
Absolutely. They're paying someone to put the facial features together. They even talk about, well, if it's the Queen's eyes and William's nose and Kate's mouth, and then they blended it all together and they put them in nice clothing, and they had, if it was a girl and if it was a boy, and it was just a mess. I was like, oh no, you. Anyway, CBC, I also have an issue with. They spent an hour and a half, almost a whole hour and a half, with their. On News World, their shot was the door to St. Mary's Hospital. An hour and a half waiting for the baby to come out.
What were they talking about?
They had some trouble talking about much. They had just a few things to rotate through. And I thought, oh dear, they're trying so hard to get through this. And instead of waiting, just go to something else and then come back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it that hard? They've got like a lot of people working for them.
Maybe that's the thing. Like maybe, as you said, there's all this stuff going on, but they weren't made to cover it.
I think it's the budget cutbacks. It's either the budget cutbacks. You know, they got one camera and they, you know, no cameramen. So just set it up, point it at the door, and we're going. Either that or Stephen Harper told them, got to cover the royal birth.
Totally.
Oh, that might be it. That might be it. Yeah.
Damn you, Stephen.
He's like, create more fanaticism,
Yeah.
please.
I did not tune into any of what was going on with the baby and stuff, but yesterday the news was on and they were talking about how it's named after a town and the child's named after a town in BC or something, and then they had someone in that town like talking about it. Was really
Well,
weird.
he's not named after the town. The town is actually named after the guy he's named after.
Weird, yeah.
It just happens to work out.
what
Prince
town-
George.
Oh, Prince George.
So we have His Royal Highness. We have. He's the heir to the throne of Canada, the crown in Canada. His name is His Royal Highness Prince George Alexander Louis of Cambridge,
Oh, and then
Prince of Cambridge,
Which is also a town in Canada.
which is also named after a town over there. Everything here is either named after a town over the pond, or it's been culturally appropriated from First Nations. You know, that's
oh, Canada.
oh, Canada. Yeah.
I'm curious about like the naming process, and like you think about the same thing with popes, but like, you know, like what is it about like strategizing on like the Georges and Johns and Elizabeths and like the royal family? Like, I don't know, it's interesting to think that like, why aren't they just going with like Kanye West named his baby North,
Which I think is beautiful.
right? Like,
Yeah.
just, like throw us a curveball, royal family, like.
Well, they're still concerned with the succession, right? Nothing is certain, even for them. So
History has
it's a little bit of continuity. It's a little nod to Elizabeth in that George was the name that her father took when he became king, unexpectedly because of the abdication of Edward VIII in 1936. And that's also the name of her grandfather. So the two previous kings were both George, minus that little like blip in the screen that was Edward VIII. But and Alexander apparently is because they met in Scotland, and one of the great Scottish kings before the United Kingdom was anything like it is now was Alexander, and there was a couple named Alexander actually, not just Alexander the Great, but
Alexander's that one of them was like murdered or shot. The dude that started like World War One, or like that was not what started it. There was all this other stuff, but
Oh,
Okay,
that
no.
was Franz Ferdinand.
oh, okay, yeah. Cool,
Yeah,
never mind.
yeah.
Totally something else. Oh, I love that thing.
it all starts to blend together.
Yeah, totally.
When are we gonna have like a head of state that's actually Canadian?
Right? Chief.
You know what I think in terms of, you know, you talk about the monarchy and all that kind of stuff. One of the things I was thinking in terms of if you're going to reform the system and you like the idea of monarchy, but you don't like the idea of some foreign reptilian shapeshifter being your monarch,
Yeah.
that what we could do in Canada is have the Aboriginal community choose someone who would become the head of state, the
Yeah.
you know, governor general or equivalent.
We're having this discussion once, like just among, like with some of my friends, and we're like, wouldn't it be amazing if we had a chief as our head of state? Like this chief, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. I was imagining it. People have like wicked sides and stuff. You could totally make that something rad. It is rad already.
That is rad. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
That's something to play around with. The Globe and Mail called for a debate about this, and they had a really, really well-written piece about the whole situation with the new baby and it being time to have the conversation. and desiring to move away from the monarchy in the UK. Yeah.
The Globe and Mail with.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, I think I sent it to you, Naeem. But they, really, really well written. It wasn't as angry as most like republicanism sort of stuff has been. But
Yeah, that'd be a really interesting conversation just to have, especially in Canada. Because you said, like, we have this really strange identity where we're technically part of the monarchy, but we're also heavily influenced by the states and by all these other national, like, cultural groups that are within Canada and that come here. And it's such a strange identity. And to have a discussion like that would really, I think, shed light on a lot of things that we just keep throwing under the rug as our Canadian, like we just don't associate, like, recognize, and that we make the connections of, like, well, where do we come from, what are we doing, like, who are we, right? That'd be really cool. Let's do it, Canada. Talk about it.
Canada,
Yeah.
Canada.
Villages, the village.
Yeah.
The village, yeah. Is it villages plural? I don't know.
And we've had a slow progression away from British rule, right? Because colonialism, yeah, it's still rearing its head, but it's been this slow progression, one thing after another. Every almost 50-60 years there's like an event.
Yeah, but this year, within the last couple of years, we've seen almost kind of a step backwards with Harper. What did he call it? Change something to royal again that wasn't royal before.
The Navy or the
royal, something like
or
that.
the Army or the, I don't know, someone who.
Yeah, something like that.
Commissions were always royal commissions, right?
Well, the royal, they were.
They were always.
But there was something, and I'm not sure because we always call it like the RCAF.
Armed Forces, the Royal Canadian Armed Forces.
Maybe something like that. So what the heck is that all about?
Maybe
I think, well, he's trying to promote the monarchy.
Why?
In Canada.
I mean, do people from Calgary really feel that strongly about the monarchy?
I think it has more to do with his religion.
What religion is that?
Christian. And a particular kind of Christian. I don't know, we get into conspiracy now.
Yeah.
What kind of Christian?
Like the Big Mall Baptist, not Baptist. I think it's Alliance. It's called Alliance.
What is that? Why would they be interested in the monarchy?
Because they're interested in the end of the world.
Oh, so, but why would we need to, like?
I don't know. I have no idea. There's some sort of connection.
click on it. The Armageddon.
Yes, Marcy McDonald did a lot of research, and the Armageddon factor is absolutely terrifying. But I think because the connection of the UK monarchy with the whole Christian tradition and its like place in the story, right? I'm putting quotes because I don't really know what I'm talking about. So they have a certain seat, right, in that story that needs to be played out for revelations to happen.
Right.
And Canada also has a very specific role in that story.
Which is what? Do we know? Do you know?
Well, they always said, like the Americas, right? God's country, the new land, So yeah, I don't know. The Armageddon factor gets into it really, really well, and there's some belief that this is the chosen land. That fire and brimstone will happen over there, not over here. But I don't know. I have no idea.
I also think that it reflects, it's evangelical Christians, like kind of the more mindset that Stephen Harper is. And I think it reflects a large part on how they look at abortion, gay sex, like all these sort of things that traditionally in the kind of like monarchy setting of like old rule, those things were law, they were questioned. So it's kind of like, it's a bit of an alliance in a sense, because people like Stephen Harper and like evangelical Christians who feel like, you know, homosexuality is like eroding the moral fiber of our country. Like they have few people behind them supporting them. Like it's such a push. Abortions, women's rights, all these sorts of things. So and it's the same. It's the same reason why, you know, why there are like these kind of vague connections to the papacy or to Israel, right? Like, kind of like rooted in this historic codes of ethics that the big players like to move around in.
Yeah, and like Stephen Harper has made like very clear alliances with Israel, more so than any other Western. Yeah. I'm quoting everything today. I don't know. A Western developed, all these names we give ourselves, countries, and so I don't know. It's just another thing that makes me think that he's got his idea of what Canada is, and he's not fully disclosing it. Yeah.
I wonder if that has a direct influence on how confused people are about their Canadian identity. I mean, it's gone a while. Like, it's not even just Harper that. But
yeah.
Interesting. I was thinking also with the name change, it could also just be how they're perceived outside of the country, right? So if you go to, you know, Afghanistan or whatever, and like with these armed forces and you're the royal blah blah, I don't know how that affects people's just like when they think about it, you know, that whole. It's less Canada peacekeepers and more.
Or maybe it's the Queen reasserting royal control over her subject lands.
Well, yeah, these are good lands.
Right?
These are really good lands. Lots of resources, which are still we're being plundered. Anyway, colonialism and the corporate crazy, it's just a big mess. It's just a big mess.
Now, before, I know you want to interview Orestia, right?
Yes.
It's like 10 after 10 right now, and
it's time.
we've got a few things we got to cover before Mark Manuel gets in here at noon. But I just wanted to say, you know, didn't at the G8, can't remember if I mentioned this last week, but didn't Stephen Harper at the G8 refuse to support the rebels in Syria? And everybody else except for Putin they got together and said, well, we have to support these rebels in Syria, right? But Stephen Harper didn't.
Is that what ended up happening? I thought
Apparently.
Putin was the only one who was supporting them.
No, Putin is not supporting the rebels.
Oh, no, he's supporting the regime.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So I just thought, I mean, if Stephen Harper really did that, I mean, that's actually a good thing.
Well, yeah, I agree. Not sending arms anywhere, but
maybe it was. Who knows? You gotta get some good face in there to keep on being Stephen Harper.
He actually said that. Where did that go? Eating organs. Putin fired his own attack at Western leaders on Sunday, questioning why they would want to arm Syrian rebels who eat human organs.
oh,
But yeah, no, it seems like Harper was backing. I don't have anything else.
well, I love harping on Harper because he put himself in that position for people to harp on him, so I will, and I will enjoy it. And I'm sure that he's having a good day. I hope he's having a good day. And I think it's time now to move on to a conversation with Orestia, who, speaking of like colonialism. And especially like resource extraction. I think you might learn a little bit about it this summer on the Unity Ride.
Yes, it's the Nation to Nation ride. But I mean, it's connecting with all that's like the I Don't Know More movement and the whole, you know, is it solidarity or no the Sovereign Summer and getting all into that and it's pretty cool. I'm excited. Nation to Nation Otesha tour.
Cool.
Yeah. leaving tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. And how are you touring?
So we're touring by bike. So I'm taking a train to Cornwall, and from Cornwall we have a bit of like training, kind of get to know each other, get familiar with the equipment that we're using and all that. And then once we're ready, we're heading to the Akwesasne community, just near Cornwall, the island. It's like an island in the St. Lawrence River, and it's really cool because it's between Ontario, Quebec, and New York. And so it's this island. It's bordering these two borders. It's one of the bigger communities, and we're going to like Mohawk territory. So we're going to only be in Mohawk territory, just around the St. Lawrence River, and learning about just like everything, and a lot about the history too, like how they've come to this point, and what's happened, and what they're doing really to change things up, I think, as well. Yeah. So it's all really new stuff to me too, because I'm not really familiar with like First Nations knowledge. Like, I mean, I am, but I'm not. Like, I want to get good at like knowing, like actually knowing it and being able to communicate it with people who don't. So this is mainly why I am going on this tour, is so I can just learn a lot and then be able to teach it later as well as I get more comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did you find out about this?
Right. So a friend of ours in common, Lee, went on the Otesha tour a few years ago. They have different tours, and this particular one is a pilot project. So it's the first time they're doing this one. They're working also. It's the first time they're working with another group, the Kairos, which is multi-faith organization, which is really cool too. So we get into all that stuff too. So like faith groups and spirituality and stuff. And so we were on the bus ride to Power Shift. Power Shift. Yeah, good times. And she was mentioning it, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool, and it was really interesting. And then when we got to Power Shift, we met a bunch of people there who had done the Otesha, volunteered with Otesha and all that, and they did kind of a little presentation on it and stuff. And then I was like, okay, this is amazing. And then literally a couple of days later, they launched what the tours were for this year, and checking them out. And the Nation to Nation one was just like, yes. And it's, it's really close by. It's not like, for example, Lee went to one in like Newfoundland, which is really cool, but like it's far. And so this is really great, because I don't know Ontario. Like, I don't know much about Canada. I haven't really explored it. Like, I don't know, and so I want to learn. And like this is really cool, because it's like right here, right around the St. Lawrence. You know?
Yeah, what a great way to see it on the bike.
Exactly, on the
That's
bike.
beautiful.
With there's gonna be 13 of us, so lucky 13. We're gonna be touring together, so it's really cool. And like you create, community together, and we camp out together, and we get to stay in First Nations communities and just to absorb it all. And we're going to go to powwow, and going to go to Sweat Lodge and stuff like that. So it's going to be cool. I'm like super excited. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there's 13 of you. Is it all youth, or is
Pretty
it?
much. So there's, I think, about 2 organizers. I would say they're youth-ish, but we're pretty much 18 to 26, 30 maybe, around that age range. So it's youth.
Awesome.
Yeah, and from like all over. Some people from BC, like Ontario, from like all over Canada. I think maybe someone from the States as well too, or they're coming from the States or something. Yeah, so it's cool. We get to learn more about them too.
Yeah.
Make new friends.
So what sort of inspired you to learn more about First Nations communities and the different kind of cultures within that?
Yeah, all sorts of things. I mean, these last 2 years in general have been a really big, just huge learning curve for me. And one of something that has always been a big part of my life, and is, I think, keeps me going, is storytelling and how we connect to the earth and to each other and to everything. And Indigenous culture is that, right? It is the earth. It is like the heart. It's everything. And the more I learn about it, the more I'm kind of tuning in to where I knew I was, like to the your ancestors and to all that. And that's really powerful stuff, because it makes all these distractions just distractions. Like, you see it for what it is. It's an awakening in a way, right? And so kind of learning more about Indigenous culture and stuff, learning about this tour, it's like, okay, this is an amazing opportunity, right? And to be in communities where you can ask questions, where you can, listen to stories from, firsthand experience, and to just take it all in, and then from, see how that inspires you and stuff.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people are really kind of insecure or nervous, like don't know who to ask or where to ask to learn more. And
totally, and there's this fear of, oh, I'm gonna ask like a stupid question, or being someone who being white, or being from a different culture, immigrating here, and it's not your culture, like you come from another culture, and yet there's this feeling that, oh, am I just like a stupid Canadian who's just trying to learn more to whatever, to
do I say the right word, or did I
right? Am I offending anyone? And I think with this too, it's going to be just you can be yourself on this tour, right? Like, that's what I'm imagining, because you're with a bunch of people, you're biking, you're out there, you don't have all this distraction of the city, and you can be free, right? And you can ask those questions and not be afraid. And I think that on like the other side, that in the Indigenous communities, they're also welcoming that. I think they recognize that they're here to, like, they're offering this amazing knowledge and wealth of knowledge, and from just history and knowledge and all that stuff, that you just got to ask for it, right, and not be afraid. And so another big part of this tour is I'm letting go of a lot of things. I'm trying to shed some of this self-consciousness and all these fears that have been building up, and I also recognize are not just my fears, they're these collective fears that we all have. So it's
what do you mean collective fears?
Of just, of kind of judgment, or of these kind of ideas that we've conditioned ourselves to believe that we have to follow, these rules that we have to follow, or that, even just the idea of asking a stupid question, if there even is such a thing, right? Like those kinds of things, to just be comfortable with doing what you do, just being, right? And not having to then doubt yourself, not having to put up that mirror that you're looking at yourself and like, wait, this isn't right, because there's, these beliefs, or these like little things whispering in your ears of kind of making you feel a little unsure about yourself. And it comes out in the media, it comes out in, just even how people interact with each other, because we've been taught all these really misleading ideas, these misleading behaviors and beliefs and stuff. So it'll be nice to get out of the city and to be with a group of people who are also all, socially conscious and all about justice and the environment and all that good stuff. So I'm just really excited to be out of all this craziness.
Awesome. So it's going for how many weeks are you gone?
So the actual bike tour is about 2.5 weeks. It starts Saturday morning, and then we'll be done about August 14th. And then I'm probably going to go wander off a bit after that. But it's about 2.5 weeks, and it's a pilot project too. So it's they're still exploring. It was going to be longer. It was going to be about a 3.5 week tour, but they wanted it to be more open for people who aren't as experienced, and to kind of keep it more at a slower pace, so that we can really stay in the communities a bit longer. And so it's not as intense as the other bike tours in terms of the biking. It's more of the relationship building with these communities.
That's beautiful.
And then you get to then go to non-Indigenous communities and teach them what you learned through like theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, tell me more.
The training kind of gets in is where we learn just how to, like, basic techniques of how to get an issue across, and how to teach, like, for example, with water, like how do you teach kids about, well, where does your water come from, right? Very, very simple things, but in a very deep and fun way as well, right? Like very attractive.
Where does water come from?
Where does water come from? It gets packaged, and first it's, first they own, some companies like own water, which is weird, and then they bottle it and package it, and where does that plastic come from, and like what are the what is the assembly line like, and like all that kind of what goes into it all. And these are also things that I'll be learning as well. Yeah, I kind of come into these things not knowing much, but then I absorb it all.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, so
well, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the theatrical experiments that come out of this,
Totally.
because like that is some of my favorite things to do, especially touring around to different communities. In
So we'll just be stopping, I guess, wherever, and it's not fully, like the itinerary is not fully planned, which is cool because you just kind of go with the flow. And we'll probably also, there'll be like media stuff too, so interviews with local, radio or newspapers and stuff, just kind of getting the word out there and interacting with people. That's really what it is, because people get really inspired when they see people doing stuff like this, right? You don't have to necessarily do it yourself, but to just see it happening and then to hear about it and you become a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really big part of all this, right? And I mean, that's with like I Don't Know More and stuff. It's the experience of just doing it, of learning and expressing who you are and where we all are at, like you're. It's all that good stuff.
in this big crazy mess that we're in.
It's pretty crazy, this big world.
It's a beautiful mess.
It's a beautiful mess.
Yeah.
And it's slowly like it's coming together as it is, right? Because with all this chaos and stuff, there is some like there is order in a weird way, and all that we're doing, like with this tour, with everything that's going on, I don't know more, all of this, it's all playing these awesome roles in this beautiful performance that we're going to be shifting all this, right? We're shifting the powers. So it's really, I'm excited, and I love just getting out in nature and just, especially by the water. So I'm imagining just sitting by the St. Lawrence and just writing letters, writing stories and stuff. So that'll be really inspiring too, just being out in nature and by the water.
Absolutely. Yeah, where does water come from?
Yeah.
So are you going to like report back and tell us how things are going?
Totally. I got a fancy smartphone for the first time ever after years of teasing people who have them, so that I can be connected, because I'm not very good with all the technological stuff, but I see how powerful it is, so
I understand.
Develop that skill as well. So it's a lot of learning is going to be happening on this tour.
I totally understand. I'm learning how to better use Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's good. I like the conversation.
Yeah.
So you have Twitter on your phone, so you can tweet out your stuff?
At Arestia, Arestia. It's pretty simple.
At Arestia.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, just Arestia.
Okay.
But it's like at,
Yeah, the at symbol.
The at symbol, yeah.
I know.
It's not a part of the...
If we figure that out, yeah.
Yeah.
And will you take some video and stuff?
Yeah, I'll be taking pictures, video. I have the phone, and then I also have a camera, but that takes like software and all that stuff to get it online. So that I'm going to be putting out later, like editing and stuff. But I have the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Brilliant.
I'm going to do it.
Yes.
Not just going to say it and not do it.
No, because we want it. We want to see it.
Exactly.
We
and a
want
lot of people
update.
are really interested. Like people at my work, which is a very, so I work at an optometrist office, and they're all Iranian, and they don't really know much about all these issues. They kind of actually have some pretty, not everybody, I mean, some people have some pretty backwards beliefs of what, like, who First Nations are and what the culture is and stuff, which is a little disappointing. But they're really excited to see pictures and to hear stories and stuff. And having worked there, I feel I've opened up a lot of their minds to what's really going on in the world.
Yeah.
Because and one of them has actually said, like, so I'm not just putting a label on them, but that she likes being, not knowing things, because it is.
Oh, she likes being ignorant. My mother says the same thing.
Right?
I don't know if you're watching, Mom, but it's totally okay. I get it. She's aware of her ignorance, and that's like part of the process.
Part of the process.
And that is perfectly reasonable to choose to live in your bubble. And I choose what my bubble is, and it's a happy bubble, and she's just going to move forward in that. And she's like, if it doesn't come across CBC radio, I don't know about it, and that's fine. So, and at least she's aware and she knows she's choosing a
That's the first
certain.
step.
Absolutely. Now, that's not to say that she won't hear or listen to something, and like she's not angry if she hears something that is different from what.
She's not like blocking it off. She's just
Yeah.
on her own. Yeah, totally understand that. And yeah, that's what one of my coworkers said. She said it's sad learning these things because I was talking about like the whole just financial stuff, like the monetary reform, and talking about the bank case tour, and like explaining well why we need this, what the banks are doing, what these mega huge international like no face kind of corporations are doing and stuff, and I was explaining to her, and she just kind of was like, she's like, you know what, it's a little sad knowing these things now. Like I feel a little sadder. It was a lot happier not knowing these things. And I'm like, yeah. The last 2 years have been pretty depressing then for me because I've been made aware of so much and learned so much, but at the same time it's also strengthening too. I feel I've gained a lot of, so it's interesting how people take on this information and what they do with it, and how they continue on with their lives. But I mean, that's where the power is. I mean, but like with the shift in power, we're empowering all of them as well too. They don't need to be the ones at the front line, they don't have to be the big, activators, but we're creating that change so that we can have a society where it's okay to know things and it won't bring you down, because what's actually going on is pretty cool. It's cooler. It's like way grander than it is like depressing and like.
What do you mean?
Well, imagine the possibilities.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's if more people were involved in the conversations, and we were having these discussions of what is Canadian, what is our constitution, how are we gonna, what are we gonna do to change it?
How do we live up to those ideals?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we talked about it and we slowly did it. I feel people would feel really good about themselves, and about their communities. They'll feel a part of something. They won't feel as disconnected. They won't, and slowly things will get better, because it's the beliefs that set us in a certain way. Like if people believe that things are getting better, then they're like, it will get better, But until we have these conversations and we're saying, well, maybe, revealing about all the terrible things that are going on, but then also you have to show the solution. You have to show the good side too, because you can't just, be all locked up in that. But, saying, well, there is amazing stuff already happening, been happening for years, just even look at like the 60s and, the early 70s. There's a lot of amazing stuff that did happen, but something,
is it just inevitable that it's gonna like flip both sort of like that pendulum
because that's
swing?
life, right? And that's, people need to get more in tune with that whole, it is a pendulum. It's not just this or that, it's both. And we have this whole spectrum and it goes back and forth. And so, yeah, hopefully get people to feel more, to be more
in touch with their feelings and able to express it. And do you know what I think is a great way to do that? Theater.
Totally.
And art. It's so beautiful.
Music.
Are you going to learn? So you're going to learn some theater practice or like storytelling kind of stuff?
Yeah. It's going to be more, it's theater that's, you don't use a lot of props. You kind of just go with what you have. So it's, I don't want to say improv, because it will be a little bit of improv, obviously, but it will be improv, because we'll be, we'll be creating this play together too. So it won't be a set thing. So we'll be learning and things, and then we'll be talking about it and be like, well, how can we convey this in a very simple, easy way, but also very powerful, like impacting. So and then we'll learn techniques and stuff. There's the blanket technique, which I still have to actually read more about and stuff, but it's how to kind of not take apart the issue, but to explain it in a way. Well, okay, so you have it's kind of like a blanket, so you're warming the person up to the of what's going on.
Oh, now I understand the reference. Okay,
I think so. Or it's also, and a blanket to also of there's the analogy of it escapes me now, but I forget what it was, but like you kind of go through with an example, like an actual story someone says of of whatever situation, the facts, and then a solution, like what's going on that can actually, what people are already doing about this issue. So
Yeah.
it's your
That sort of positive, like what's coming out and happening, and what can you
how
get
can
involved
you-
in.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
little things, little just do it yourself things that you can do to become a better, I guess consumer, but not. But,
Yeah.
So for one of the things with the water issue is a really big one. So with water consumption and how to just save water, like how do you, one of the things they talk about is like mellow yellow. It's like just even these little, I guess, like little lifestyle changes that when you change them up, you're becoming more aware of what what's going on, and then you, by just doing that action, also other people see that and will be like, well, why are you doing that? Like, ask questions, and you're spreading that, right?
Yeah,
So in your
absolutely.
own life, making those little changes, so that it's pretty cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing all about it,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll be able to set up like a whole special after about the experience and the different communities that you connected to, and
And
meet some of the people that you met.
Totally. And
Yeah.
I'm going to try to see if on like Thursdays or something, if there's a time when we have internet connection or whatever, if I can call in or something. I
Yeah.
want to get the phone number to this place.
Okay, so the phone number here is 416-204 9723. So that's for you
Sweet.
too.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
at home.
Hello. Give us a ring. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really, really excited to see the pictures and everything, and the theater piece,
Yeah.
and whatever music comes out of it. I'm sure there'll be some jamming.
I brought some yellow clothes just in case I need to dress up as a bee.
Yellow clothes as a bee. Aww.
I don't know if it will come in handy, but I found these wicked like yellow black striped socks and stuff. So
Cute.
bringing some cool clothes. I got like Wonder Woman shorts and stuff too. I'm like, okay, this is the time to just go all out and be the person that you picture yourself, imagine yourself to be, but you're like too scared to be out there because people are gonna look at you weird. Because this is not even like full Arrestia sometimes. I think it's Arrestia development. I'm in development.
In
This is a part of
development.
it. Yeah.
So this is going to be an experiment in superhero-dom.
Totally. Exactly. This is totally an experiment superhero dumb. On a bike,
Yeah.
like a crew.
With the wind in your hair.
Yeah, the water float.
Yes.
It'll be. I can't wait. Yeah.
Wonderful. Cool.
Superhero dumb.
All right. Well, speaking of bee costumes,
Yes.
let's transition now into a little conversation about the bumblebees.
Bumblebee.
And again, I'm going to show my picture,
Oh, someone is calling.
which is, you notice that's the queen bee with the crown on her head.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can take this, make a t-shirt. I'm going to grab the phone, and it's over here. Where is it? I don't know. I don't have the actual
Is it on
thing.
air?
Hello, hello. Should I put this over there?
Hello, you're on air. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Figuring it
Oh, I'm watching you two on the screen right now.
Hey, nice to hear from you.
I was waiting so long because her was talking. Is her going away to August the 14th?
Yeah.
And guess what? Can I tell you two and your guest?
Yeah, Rusty is going to be gone for a few weeks.
Just me though. The show's still gonna be here.
We will still be running.
And for me, I'm coming there to that station on August the 25th.
Oh, cool. On the 25th. August 25th?
August.
August 25th, so about a month from now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You let her know, but I'm coming down. I want to see her.
Sweet. I'll be back. I'll be here then, the 25th. I'm gonna write it down too, so I don't forget.
Awesome.
And how about the two people I see behind the camera?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're sorting some stuff out behind the camera right now. Our amazing volunteer Dennis, who helped with audio and switching today,
I
he's
can't see the camera.
Oh, switch it to 5.
switch it. We're talking about you. So he's the he's the one in the black and white hat there. He joined us today. It was really awesome to have his help, and we look
Yeah.
forward to seeing
I
you
saw
again
it
soon.
before.
He's not paying attention to me right now, though.
The camera, Dennis.
So it's a good little team that's growing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome. Until next time.
Till next time.
And we want to keep growing, so
We do want to keep growing.
people want to join.
And nothing too.
Join
After before 12, before 1, try to say hi to the guys at 12 o'clock, and I can't.
Pardon?
I missed that. Were you talking about Comic-Con?
No, the guy at 12 o'clock.
Telecom?
Yes. Yes. Is he be there today?
Is the guy from Telecom going to be here today? Did he bail? Do you know him?
I don't know.
Good question. We are not sure.
I'm not sure. I know that we are going to speak to someone from the Beehive Collective,
Oh, sweet.
which is a design collective.
No, I said after
Lara.
you gone, the guy come and do the talking where you're sitting. You heard me?
No, not quite. I can't hear you very well. But
I'm just telling you, you know, the guy was doing the talking, but this show from 12 o'clock to 8, before you come on, that guy.
Today or before?
Yes. I saw it on last time I was talking to you, and another lady said that guy at 12
Was it the guy
o'clock.
from Vancouver about his magazine? Was it that?
oh, that was some crazy.
On Monday night?
Yes,
some
I was
good
watching
crazy.
it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it very much.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, I brought Echo's CD so we could actually play some of her music if we want, which
Sweet.
would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, a quick one. Can I be your co-host?
Who co-hosts?
Yes, for you.
Oh, for you.
Because you're going away.
Oh,
I will be your
yeah.
co-host for you.
Totally. We could always use some new co-hosts. We can always have more co-hosts.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can shut up. Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you so
shoot.
much for calling in. That
Who
was really
said
nice.
no?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Who said no? I see him in the back there. He waves it. No. He says, I saw that.
Awesome. Okay. We'll talk to you again soon, eh?
I call back at 1, okay?
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. All right. So, yeah, you can call in too if you want, whoever you are. I love you. Okay. So, let's, okay.
What time is Laura coming, by the way?
She's actually going to call in
Oh, okay, sweet.
at about 11 o'clock, which
Yeah,
is
she's
pretty
wicked.
soon. Yeah. So I'm just going to call up a video that is
Sweet.
about
They're new.
the bees. Well, what happened was there was a call out for a video revolt against Monsanto and GMOs, right? Because it's not just Monsanto using GMOs,
Yeah.
but they seem to be the most prevalent corporation in the anti-GMO movement. Like they get a lot of attention for a lot of good reason.
A lot of
They
money. into
deserve
it.
a lot of attention. They do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff. So if you haven't found out about Monsanto yet, definitely check it out. And you can check out the YouTube videos that were all posted yesterday. It was a video revolt against GMOs. But let me see. I think I have to call up the video on here. I don't know. It's going to take me a second here.
You can link me and I can pull it up
Okay.
if that's easy.
Well, it's on my wall. It's the first thing on my Facebook wall.
So log on to Facebook.
Right on to Facebook. And yeah, it's one of my Facebook friends, and she made just a really easy conversational little clip where she's talking to the camera about specifically the bees and GMOs, and it's very nice how she puts it all together. And like I said, again, I'm going to put this up because you can take this, appropriate it for your own uses. Just remember the crown on the bee, okay? And any color you choose.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's
Pink or
beautiful.
purple bees.
It's the, yeah,
You know what?
when we're talking about queens. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's watch it up.
Hi, my name's Jody Kobaransky, and I'm speaking to you from Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. Canada is one of the world's leading proponents of agricultural biotechnology. And I'm making this video today as a call to action that's taking place around the world to speak out about GMOs in agriculture. And rather than villainize a single corporation, I would rather focus my conversation with you on an invitation to step up to our campaign for seed freedom that's taking place internationally. On October 2nd, 2012, Dr. Vandana Shiva launched the Seed Freedom Campaign as part of the Navdanya Institute's annual Bhumi Conference that takes place in Dehradun. www.seedfreedom.in. Please, when you're done viewing the video, I encourage you to go visit the site and see what actions you could be taking in your hometown or in your community, or with groups either at the regional, state or provincial level or national level to participate in this important effort to reclaim the commons of the seed. Our food future, our ability to feed ourselves on this planet, is dependent 100% on the viability of seed. The corporatization and privatization of seed over the last 30 to 40 years that has taken place is one of the greatest thefts of humanity. The seeds that we rely on for our food, for our grains, to feed ourselves and to feed the animals upon which many of us rely for our sustenance and our enjoyment, these seeds are the common property of thousands of years, of generations and generations of predominantly women who have selected year upon year seeds for their value, for their nutritional value, for their capacity to be grown in certain environments, not for their profitability, not for the uniformity, and certainly not for the heightened importance we've placed on 4 or 5 crops at the expense of all other foods. It's time that we as a species look very, very hard at the ecological imperatives within which our cultures and our societies flourish. And we know that we can produce food agroecologically. We can produce food in ways that do not place undue demands on soil, water, and air systems. We can produce food in balance with nature that serves the human and community values and not shareholder values of greed and control. So if you would like to learn more about what I'm speaking to you about here, again, please go visit www.seedfreedom.in. That's SEEDFREEDOM.in. Check out Dr. Shiva's campaign. Step up and provide some financial support to the Navdanya Institute. And check out online, see what actions are happening in communities near you, and see a way that you can get engaged and become a seed freedom fighter. Thank you for your listening, and I appreciate your interest in this topic.
And I appreciate that video. So, thank you, Jody.
Yeah.
We are definitely going to enjoy hearing about what you learn with regards to seeds and growing food and taking care of the whole community.
Totally.
It's one of the arguments that the GMO kind of side brings to the table is that, well, this is helping to eradicate hunger in the world. Yet it hasn't at all. And we have food bank use in Canada is up by 31% in the last 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So there's definitely incongruency in that argument.
That's interesting because those who usually make those arguments, those people that it tends to be they make those arguments to just to save their backs because they know that they're creating a terrible problem, and they make these food banks and social services and stuff to for the problem because there's this problem, but they don't recognize, well, they are they are the ones who pretty much created the problem, and that these solutions that they have are really just ways to keep making the problem more, drenched in our society and stuff, like
as
more
opposed
something
to being
that's normal.
responsible.
Exactly, because these like food banks is now a very normal, like, people don't question why we have food banks. They're more in support of, well, it's good to have food banks, but it's like, why are there so many people hungry? And food banks do not provide a lot of nutrition, at least not most of them, They just get food donations.
Yeah, the food programming actually rarely gets fresh fruits and vegetables. Oftentimes the ones that aren't really well funded, you'll have really just bread and soup.
Yeah.
And it's not quite enough to get people actually, fueled to be able to face the serious challenges that they do face in the day.
Yeah, food's a really big part of it, because as I said, it's your energy. What you put in, you put out. And if we eat shitty food, we will just shit all over the place. Terrible stuff. Like, that's the reality.
Okay, brief detour.
Yes.
Speaking of shit, did you see or hear about the woman runner in the States somewhere? I have no idea where. Who she would run. She'd go on her run, and every morning she'd pass by the same place, and she'd go in the corner, and she'd like relieve herself. And the owner of the property was like, "What is this?" And he even called it. What was it? If anyone remembers what it was, he called it something. Malicious fecal distribution.
That's so funny.
I love it. It's hilarious. I thought it was just an ex-girlfriend. Like, seriously.
Totally. That's actually, I like that though. We should be shitting on land, like on Earth, as opposed to in our drinking water, like in water. But that's a really big problem. That's not healthy, guys. We should not be shitting in water that we then reuse
into the earth.
Yeah, that's where.
Isn't that where it needs it
goes, right? It's fertilizer. And imagine if you ate well, it'd be even better shit. It'd be so good for the earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the earth is the perfect filter. Like it. She cleans everything. She knows what to do with it. We do not know what to do with it. The water only brings out more weird stuff.
Because then what we end up doing is cleaning up that water and selling it in bottles, and people drink it. It's just clean sewer water.
And you just put stuff in it to clean all that, and you're just adding more terrible stuff. Yeah.
Wow, we just solved the whole problem.
Oh yeah, it's been solved for a really long time. It's just we are not doing anything about it.
We just remembered.
You want to watch 51 seconds of the runner shitting on the
Oh, yes, I
know, sure.
Why not?
I guess. I brought it up.
Now you gotta deal with the shit.
I know. So there she is.
With what a neighbor keeps laying down. Hi everyone, I'm Chase Kane for Team Newsbreaker.
Wow. Oh, we're back.
That was enough.
Really quick.
That's her running. Oh, there she goes.
I love how it. Oh, Albuquerque, yes. I love Albuquerque. I want to go there. There's some interesting people there.
Apparently, she did this multiple times over consecutive days, and I was like, she's got to have some sort of vendetta against that building.
Like a ritual or something. Like
ritualized.
This is, yeah. You gotta let it out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Better out than in.
Thank God. All right.
Yeah.
So a little quick briefing about what the Beehive Collective is. It's actually a design collective.
I met Laura.
Oh, you did?
At Power Shift.
Oh.
Yeah.
Power Shift is awesome.
Yeah, I wish I knew. I did not know. I have some of their stuff, like patches that they make, and they have these wicked little brochures that they basically create these huge posters, these huge murals that the collective they started in Maine. And the collective, like all over, I guess, North America, also South America, because they do stuff in South America. They learn about like the mining what's going on, and then they create these huge murals, these huge pictures that tell the story, and every little section is like it's a piece of the story. And so the brochure, if you go through it, it explains, okay, well here, this is what's going on, this is like the miners, and then this is, the community. I don't know, but just search Beehive Collective.
Yeah, I'm on their website.
Yeah. They have a video, actually. They just came up with a new one, the Mesoamerica one, and they have a little video on it. It's really cool. They're an amazing organization. They're an amazing collective. And for this, their newest poster, it took them about 5 years or something like that, maybe even more, to make it, because they do it all over. So we have a group in Maine doing a piece of it. You have some people like British Columbia doing a piece of it. You have like Lara and the Toronto group doing a piece of it here. So it's really cool.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. So Lara can call in anytime to the 9723 number. That's 416-204-9723. And we are ready for you now. We weren't ready before, but we're ready now.
Ready now.
I know. Everyone's relieved themselves.
Yes.
And we're ready.
We let it out.
We did.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. When I was at PowerShift, I kept going back to their booth and kept looking at their stuff. Like I couldn't keep away, because they just have beautiful work, and it's so informative in such a way that it's just beautiful. I love it. Good work, Beehive Collective. From Maine too. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Hey. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is gonna. Where's the marbles at?
The marbles.
The marbles to hold the microphone.
Oh, right there.
Where? Oh.
Yeah.
Perfection.
There's one of their images up on the
Hold on.
I'm gonna release my Nina.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's I think their newest, their latest
this
release.
is their
it's just
G7.
Oh, okay.
Their newest, they don't actually have the final.
Yeah, the Mesoamerica one. I don't know if it's completely came out, but they have a little video on it.
I can't find the video, but there is some there is some kind of like incremental some.
You know what?
different
If you go to Tumblr and you search the Beehive Collective, I posted a video a while ago, and there's not much on there of the Beehive Collective, so you might be able to find that video. Go down or go through it. It should just be like a YouTube video. I guess you could YouTube it too. This is a weird format. I don't remember seeing it.
This one?
At the sanctuary. So I guess so. That's just a clip where they're at something. Yeah, that could work. Check it out.
It's 5 minutes. I don't know if you wanna. Play it.
So.
Oh, if I find it, I'll just throw it up there.
Yeah, they have beautiful work. Oh, got a call.
Hello, you're live on that channel.
Hi there, this is Lara.
Hi, Lara. Very nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
Not bad, how are you?
Very well. We're shooting the shit here today. So we were just looking at some of the images from the Beehive Collective, and it's beautiful work. How did you get involved with this collective?
Well, we basically make these really, really detailed drawings that then have a written text that kind of explains. So I got involved in some translation work of some of those texts, and from there basically got involved in a lot of different aspects of the work of the organization.
Cool.
And does the organization have a mission specifically with regards to like images and being able to communicate information through imagery?
Yeah, absolutely. So our mission is to make anti-copyright images and use them for educational purposes. So we say we cross-pollinate the grassroots, and we basically share stories using the images. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to be able to exchange and share in kind of a reciprocal way. I think, yeah, there's some aspects of, you know, traveling and being mobile, people in the north with access to resources that can lead to kind of extractive exchanges, and a lot of times I think people are unaware even of their privilege to be able to travel and learn and share, and so we're trying to be like pretty conscious of not being, you know, extractive in that process if at all possible. And so the part of the reason the images are anti-copyright as well is that we don't feel that we have creative authorship over things that have been shared with us, and that we want to be available for people who are in frontline communities and people who might be able to use our work as a tool. So anti-copyright is kind of a big part of that, and we want the work to be photocopied. That's also why it's predominantly in black and white. And we want to be able to really use these images, you know, for our own storytelling and educational purposes, but ultimately we want them to be available to others to use.
So what do you mean by extraction of, like, I'm just a little bit unclear.
Well, if we go and interview somebody for a poster and make a poster about it and bring it back home and sell it, you know, in a way we've extracted that information and we've used it for our purposes. So when we say we're trying to be reciprocal, what we want to be doing is to be creating something together in collaboration with people, and then also providing the completed image as an educational tool for the people who helped us make it in the first place.
So it's much more about like building connections and community and communicating, and not just I was using the word cultural appropriation earlier. And much like resources are extracted, the resources of, you know, stories and information, that's a resource as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really tricky also in terms of creating imagery. We've tried to challenge ourselves to make up our own images for things and make up our own kind of cartoon versions of things, as opposed to replicating images from other cultures, especially from indigenous cultures, and we've tried to set that like as a bit of a filter in our imagery, so that we push ourselves to make up our own images. I'm just repeating myself now.
Well, it's an important thing to repeat, I think. Yeah. I appropriated the phrase "God Save the Queen" and I put a bee on top of it and with a crown, and I want people to take it and use it on a t-shirt if I haven't made that clear yet.
Yeah, I think some kinds of appropriation like that are definitely more like along the lines of culture jamming and reappropriating, and there can be a positive aspect, but on the whole, cultural appropriation tends to be pretty exploitative, as I'm sure you're aware. So,
Absolutely.
Kind of goes back to the Canadian identity, is how much it's been appropriated, our identity. One of the questions I actually had was, how do you keep the work so, I guess, consistent in style? Because there are many artists from like all over the country working on it. How do you kind of keep the style very much pretty consistent? Yeah, and the story consistent as well.
Yeah. Well, the stories definitely vary depending on who's telling them. But in terms of the artwork, when we're doing illustration itself, we're all in the same room, you know, with the big piece of paper. So we kind of choreograph it in such a way that it's not divided up, you know, between parts of the page. So it's not like, oh, one person's doing the right-hand corner and one person's doing the left-hand corner. It's more like one person maybe is doing plants, or one person's doing line work of plants, or maybe, like in the case of our new poster, one person was doing background plants, one person was doing foreground plants. So basically, as your eye is looking at the page, all the plants are consistent. And we're also following in kind of a style where people who are new that are coming on as illustrators are partly starting off with already being like somewhat of a match to that style. And in terms of the shading as well, like that's kind of choreographed in layers so that someone might be shading, you know, mechanical things, someone might be shading all the water, and if that's a consistent hand, again, it helps the whole thing look more cohesive. But you will see some differences between a couple of our earlier posters to a couple of our more recent posters, and you can start to see, you know, a bit of variation in the style. We also, earlier in our history, we basically had nobody who had formally, you know, got through and finished art school and had formal art training. So more recently, we have had people involved in doing the illustration work who have had that formalized art school training. So to my eye, that's impacted somewhat the quality of the images and the depth of the images. And I think there's lots of opinions as to, you know, what aesthetic people prefer. But there is a bit of a shift over time in the last 10 years since we've been making posters.
Cool. Sounds like a really awesome, I guess, as you said, like the story, the development of it, because it is constantly, I guess, evolving, right? As you get more people and you get more familiar, I mean, it's a collective, so you're creating this community, and you kind of get more familiar with each other, and you get to explore more, I guess, the more you learn and stuff too. So what are some of the, I guess, maybe the challenges that have at the beginning were there, and you're kind of, you know, working through, or the successes, I guess, the kind of the evolution of the collective? How does that gone?
Yeah, well, sort of starting from the present, I mean, right now there's a couple of ways that people are being involved, and one is by being a full-time, basically live together collective member in Maine. So that's kind of where the Beehive's home base is, and that's where a lot of the full-on organizational work happens, as well as a lot of local work in Machias, Maine. And there's a core of about 15 people there right now, and that number has kind of shifted anywhere between 3 to 6 to 10 to 15 people over the years. And then there's another group of people who are a lot more occasional, who don't live in Maine, who do some presentations, plug into campaigns, maybe help on certain aspects of graphics, and kind of maybe travel back and forth, maybe go on tour. In that network of part-time people, there's maybe 8 to 12 of us approximately right now. And then there's a much wider network of people who maybe have a poster in their classroom if they're a teacher, or just have a couple posters that they take to events, or just are very occasional and don't even really consider themselves part of the Beehive, but for us they're part of the network of how our work gets used. So I think one of the big challenges is organizing over distance and organizing with people who are involved in different capacities, and they're all in different locations. That brings a whole bunch of communication challenges. But I also think that just the work of living together and sharing a place together is quite challenging, and that's kind of a whole aspect of the work that the people who are full-time and who are living together are constantly kind of navigating, and there's rewarding things about that, and I think there's challenging things about it too. So there's a lot of ways that people are trying to, be the Beehive and create the Beehive Design Collective. And here in Toronto, there's a couple of us who are kind of branching out and wanting to do a bit more of our own independent work and just distribute the graphics kind of as a autonomous node of pollination here in Southern Ontario. So that's sort of up and coming, and yeah, we do have a new poster. It's hot off the press. We just got a tube of them in the mail up to Toronto. They still smell like the printer. They're very fresh, and we're just getting ready to do a launch event in the next couple of months and basically have kind of a kickoff party for the new poster and invite people to come and tell stories that they see that are there, because that's the moment that we're in, is we're ready to launch this new poster, and we want to kind of refresh it with information that's relevant, to our local context as well.
Where can people contact or get updates on the Toronto folks, the Toronto chapter of the collective, like for the launch and everything? How can we learn more about that?
Yeah, so we have an email that's b.at beehivecollective.org. So it's BEEDOT at beehivecollective.org, and you can write to us there. And we're about to launch also a pretty big fundraising campaign for the new poster, and that's going to be available on beehivecollective.org, and that will also have information about just the whole poster and how it evolved and how we kind of evolved to get to the point of making this thing that we spent years and years and years on. And we're also about to kind of revamp our website and have it all bilingual in English and Spanish as well. And part of the reason that we're fundraising to print the posters is so that we can also provide, our goal is that half of our print run of the Mesoamerica posters will get distributed basically free of charge in Mexico and Central America. So if you are excited about that idea that, you can go online and donate for a poster, and then you're also supporting the flow of posters into the Global South, then please do check out our website in the coming weeks. All that stuff will probably be up in the next few weeks.
Amazing. I'm really interested in how teachers can use this material to communicate to students, and how we can all sort of learn about the dynamics of colonialism, since we're talking so much about that today. Especially in this one that I see on the main page of the website, there's a lot of media material in with the dinosaur and the lizards and the mammals up top, and I'm just getting into it right now and thinking, look at them taking notes. I don't usually use notes. Maybe I should start using notes. But there's a lot of beautiful imagery. It's really, really very exciting to see how much conversation can be inspired by these images.
Yeah, one really simple exercise that we do with school classrooms is basically have a poster and a pair of scissors and cut it up into bits and hand out the bits to small groups of students, and then the small groups can discuss what they see as going on in the picture, and then everyone can share back to the group. So it's really like a popular analysis kind of approach, where we're not necessarily coming in and saying, we're the experts on this, but we're giving people an opportunity to just read it as they read it, and then we'll add some information in. Another way Beehive posters have been used in classrooms is just a teacher has one up on the wall, and basically each week there's a student or a group of students who has to find something in the picture that catches their attention, and then find something in the media, like current events, that is related to that part of the poster. So throughout the year, these all get layered on to this kind of media project, and then it really also shows how all these different issues are interconnected. And definitely part of what the posters are trying to do is look at things, all on one page and show that environmental issues are linked to social issues, and show that colonialism is alive and well in terms of some of the issues that are going on currently. And we really try not to look at single issues in isolation from each other, and that's why our posters end up, taking so long to make and being so detailed, because we're trying to fit everything onto one page. Our new poster is pretty exciting. It folds, so it folds like a triptych. Basically, it's like two shutters on the outside that show a map of basically colonialism mapped out through the lens of the God's eye view of a map, and that opens up, and so the inside surface is twice as big, and that's all focused on the grassroots resistance and social movements that we interacted with through our research to make this poster. So it's like really, really comprehensive illustration, both of the bad news and kind of the history of capitalism in the Americas, and then this bigger page that's supposed to be beautiful and inspiring and helps to mobilize people as opposed to scare people away with all the bad news.
And how long did it take to the process of the Mesoamerica poster? So it took a few years.
It took a few years. The process for this particular illustration, we started in 2004. So basically there have been some team members kind of in and out and working on it part-time, and some of us have been doing other pretty big things in the collective throughout that time. So it's hard to estimate, exactly how many months were dedicated to this poster, but it was multiple years, and it was also really a level of detail and just a level of technical illustration of the way we rendered the images that was also one of the most time-consuming things. But even before we started drawing, we had spent many months doing research and design ideas and storytelling ideas. So all in all, I don't necessarily recommend spending that long on one poster for any of you out there who are getting really excited about doing a collaborative graphics project. I think this, again, could be argued from different angles, but I guess while I really appreciate having something so comprehensive and beautifully detailed and beautifully rendered, and I know people are going to really be excited to see it and people are going to love it. At the same time, I also really enjoy making smaller images that can be, made and produced and reproduced within a day or two. So I think there's value to both. And
yeah, I was wondering if you or anyone in the Beehive Collective were working on the actual bee crisis going on, if there was some imagery that was popping around the collective, beehives, know about bees, I don't know, maybe.
Well, that's definitely come up multiple times on lists that we've made of, what people think we should make posters about next. In our upcoming new poster, there are a lot of images of different kinds of native bees and wild bees, and wild pollinators. So those include carpenter bees, mason bees, leafcutter bees, sweat bees, orchard bees, carder bees. There's all kinds of bees out there that a lot of people seem to be pretty unaware of, that are helping to pollinate a lot of plants, as well as the Apis melliferae, which are the European honeybees. So I think there's different sides of like the bee crisis to be thought about and understood, and the wild pollinators are one aspect that I think is sometimes forgotten. But I think part of the reason that that's important to consider is that, you know, our whole agricultural system is, you know, based on having this one key pollinator that's kept in these really adverse conditions, and that whole system becomes really, really fragile when the one honeybee becomes threatened, because it's a monoculture, and pollinators are a monoculture too. So if we were growing food in a lot more biodiverse situations, and if we were doing more bee-friendly farming, there would probably be a lot more space for a variety of pollinators, a variety of different kinds of bees to be involved and to have their habitat, and not to be being trucked back and forth between monocrop fields. So that's just my 2 cents on the pollinator crisis. Like, one of the reasons we are so screwed with the decline of honeybees is that we're too dependent on this monoculture. So no poster yet, but there's my opinion.
Yeah, I was actually just learning about how they have, like, corporations have created colonies that get trucked around entire regions, and they're basically exhausting the colonies, and then the colony, like, they're being used as a product instead of recognized as a natural piece of the very fragile puzzle. So it's not a very respectful way to treat an entire species of pollinators. That's for sure.
Right, exactly. And also, part of what's going on with that is that if you have a monoculture of, you know, apples just for acres and acres and acres, it's hard to actually have a resident bee population that you don't have to truck somewhere, because once the apples are done blooming, that's it. There's not other blooms for the bees to feed off. So that's one of the changes that would need to happen to monoculture, is to change it up to be more of a permaculture, more of a diverse growing situation, where then you could have bees that would have a constant food source. But yeah, it's the way they're trucked back and forth is really, really stressful on the bee populations. The types of artificial feed that they're given to kind of keep them going through those conditions are also wearing on them, and many of the agricultural chemicals as well are deadly to bees, as well as a lot of other pollinators and creatures.
Yeah. So what can people do to help, whether it's with the Beehive Collective or even in your own opinion, how they could help bring awareness to the crisis?
Yeah, well, sorry, I'm just thinking about this. I wasn't totally prepared for this question, but I think for the bees, I mean, number one is paying attention to the food system and how it works, and looking at, you know, what alternatives there are for where you may be able to purchase food that's cultivated in a more ecologically friendly way. I know
an emergency.
There's a call the police. You'll be fine.
Yeah, call it.
There's an ambulance. Is everyone okay?
Yeah. Not the bees.
Except for the bees.
Except for the bees.
Yeah. Sorry, we did just miss the last bit there.
Well, I think, yeah, there's a number of initiatives to ban the use of certain chemicals around agriculture, which I'm not able to give the details on, but there has been some success around public pressure to stop the use of certain deadly chemicals that are affecting some of the bees. That's more within agriculture. And then in terms of wild pollinators, I think it's first of all bringing awareness that the honeybee is not the only bee, and that there's a lot of wild pollinators. And even if you live in the city, if you live in Toronto, if you have any access to outdoor space at all, planting food plants for wild pollinators is helpful to support those populations. And there's some research happening now around urban bees and looking at whether urban bees are actually how their populations are doing. Are they potentially doing better than rural bees? Because in the urban setting, they have a diversity of food, and they have these sheltered areas. So even if you live in the city, there's things you can do to help create habitat for bees. There's a number of like homemade bee houses that can be made quite easily.
Yeah, adds to the drama. Oh boy. Well, I really, really appreciate talking to you today because I'm really excited by the work that the collective is doing. It's really inspiring. And Aresti has actually been doodling this whole time, and I'm like, ooh, what is coming through?
Stick figures.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool because, as you said, like I think it also inspires people to start their own too, to start doodling and getting these stories out there in different ways. And what are some of the I guess the interesting submissions or inspirations that you've or other people have found or have been introduced to as the progression has gone on from fans or from people that you meet?
An example is not coming to mind right now, but I think it's always interesting showing people the Beehive illustrations and seeing the stories that people start to tell, and that's always infinitely more interesting than just starting off by telling someone something about it. It's just hearing from people, so
yeah, they're very evocative. It's really beautiful. Yeah. So cool. Thank you so much, Lara. It was a pleasure meeting you over the phone, and hopefully I'll get to see the debut of the next poster and checking it out. It's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Cool.
Very cool.
I love it. It's so inspiring, the work they do. Because they're like, you can't, you just stand in front of this huge poster you can stand there for hours and just look at it, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good work. Beehive Collective.
It's
2 thumbs up.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Like all the little worker bees going out and doing their own thing and bringing it back and mixing it up together. Yeah, it's really cool. And I understand why it takes so long when so many hands are part of it.
And it's a lot of research, a lot. They go to Mexico and stuff, and they go to these places and really hear stories from and get the truth, and how do you present that in such a way that is really easy. Their images are really they're just images of animals doing different things as embodying kind of human behavior, but it's just so simple, but there's so much thought put into it, and so you just can tell that of course it would take so long because it's so much, and it's amazing. And yeah, just beautiful stories, and they have as I said, the whole written stories of how you can look through the poster and really it flows really well too. It's beautiful, awesome stuff.
I would love to see a poster about the Canadian mining companies.
Totally.
In Guatemala specifically. And if you haven't heard yet, the lawsuit has been passed through, and it is going to be heard in a Canadian court to Canadian standards. Look at me going again. I'm I don't know what that means, so I'm just going to do this in the air. Canadian standards. I'm sure there's some very intelligent people who know what that means. And I think we're going to be able to get Sakura in to talk about these court cases where the mining companies, there's a few of them, but including Barrick Gold, who have allegedly been responsible, or even if the lawsuit is about whether they are responsible, for the injustices that happen on the ground where their mining operation is happening. So we'll have more about that next week. That's for sure. And it's good to keep corporations accountable. Now, whether or not the Crown will be able to keep them accountable is a very good question. So, but they'll hear it at least, so that's good.
I think if it's on top of a bee, it'd be more compelling.
Yeah. Much more compelling. All right. Should we go to some music or something? Take a little break?
Oh, video.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Hugh's inbox. What's in Hugh's inbox today?
Well, you want to see something?
I would love to see something, not nothing.
Alien
something.
civilization?
I like alien
Well,
civilization.
first tough question.
What?
Oh.
I like it already.
Do both.
Let's do both.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was one thing. That's why I was confused.
Yeah. Amazing. And I'm going to talk on the live stream a little bit.
Sweet.
Mr. Prime Minister, when you came to power, you promised accountability, transparency, and cleanness. Now that we've had the robocalls, the In-N-Out scandal, the G20 abuses, the F-35 boondoggle, the shattering of Parliament, the canceling of the long-form census, muzzling of scientists, the Duffy Wallen scandal, losing track of $3.1 billion in security funding, stonewalling on digital spying, the military police investigation of CTV for breaking stories that embarrass the government, and now turning CBC into a state broadcaster. How do you respond to that? There goes my Senate appointment.
Who is going to ask the tough questions now? Join the campaign to free the CBC from political interference.
But in 2001, suddenly the media paid some interest, because then something appeared that was almost impossible to overlook. Right behind me is Britain's largest radio telescope, the Chilbolton Observatory. And here it was that the greatest sensation in the crop circle history was to appear in the fields right in front of the telescope.
On the morning of 14th of August 2001, a formation was discovered which was different from any other previously seen. From the ground, it looked like a tangled mess, wisps of crop spread around in no system. However, in the evening, with growing shadows, a picture appeared, unmistakably that of a face. That picture represented a whole new technique, a screen technique, the same that's used for printing a picture on paper. 3 days later, the face was joined by something that looked like a data strip. Rows of counters made out of standing and flattened crop. But soon, an astonishing similarity is discovered. In 1974, the astronomer Carl Sagan composed a message that NASA sent into space from the Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico. Binary figures which constituted a graphic code presenting key factors about humans and the planet we live on. 27 years later, an identical pattern appears in a crop field right in front of a similar radio telescope. However, on closer inspection, it seemed to show that the code contained some fundamental differences. Sagan's message explained our calculation system, the dominant chemical substances within the elements that create life on Earth, about our DNA code, humans' height and quantity, and that we live on the third planet in our solar system, and lastly, a sketch of our radio telescope. The message received described the same calculation system, but that silicon is most dominant in life forms in contrast to carbon. The drawing also clearly shows a humanoid figure with large head in relation to its body. It's also explained that they have an extra string in their DNA, are approximately 4 feet tall, inhabit the third, fourth, and fifth planets in their solar system, and have a population of around 21.3 billion. Underneath, the telescope has been replaced by something more complex. 1 year earlier, a strange crop circle had appeared in the same place. Is this the same illustration as in the sender's code? Is this the correspondent's radio telescope? If this is not an extremely clever and well-calculated joke conducted by humans, Is it a serious response from an alien civilization?
The Chilbolton crop formations really gave new life to the speculations of who is behind this. Is it aliens? Where do they come from? And what is their purpose of this type of communication?
The following year, very nearly on the same day, a new picture appears that gives new force to the alien theory, this time in Crabwood, near the town of Winchester in Hampshire. Once again we see a face, but this time there is an unmistakable resemblance to something extraterrestrial. The picture also contains a print, somewhat similar to that of a CD, with something that appears to be a coded message. This formation also has a new type of design, this time with horizontal line patterns of variable thickness, similar to that of a TV picture. The message on the disc is similar to a spiral band built up of many boxes. But data expert Paul Weige manages to decipher the message.
And I had to enlarge the disc quite substantially on the computer and run some image analysis over it to make it clear so that I could see what was a standing tuft and what was flattened. And while I was doing this, I noticed that every so often there was almost a mistake in the diagram. It was like there was a tuft, where the little square tuft, it had done sort of half size. I thought that's a bit odd, and it seemed fairly regular. I was going round, and I sort of counted up, and it was sort of literally every sort of 8 bytes or whatever. And I thought, oh, 8 bytes, and yeah, from computer side, is obviously some sort of binary code. So then I did the straightforward thing. I just converted it into ASCII, which is the standard sort of computer language that you encode the alphabet in. And of course I then started to get words forming out, and I thought, I'm getting somewhere here. So I then did the whole thing for the whole lot, and got this message.
The message is in English and reads as follows. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. There is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing. Many have been surprised by this message. Are there aliens with such faces that we should be aware of? Or is this a picture of the sender? Does this indicate the start of actual close contact with neighbors in the universe?
My own, and this is only a hypothesis, belief about this, is that there's an effort of the extraterrestrials are gradually trying to communicate with us. A very slow process, giving us a lot of time to digest the fact that we may not be alone here.
He doesn't pay property taxes, doesn't file income taxes, refuses to get a driver's license, and his vehicles don't always have government-issued plates.
I do have a license plate for my construction company that I use when I'm contracting, just because I don't need any problems while I'm out there.
And he's had his share of problems.
Getting into a giant legal argument.
Well, no, but hang on, just tell me if this makes sense to you. The Bill of Rights.
Dean Clifford from Winnipeg has been arrested several times and has had vehicles impounded. Despite that, he continues to run a construction company and travels the country speaking to Canadians about our rights. Dean Clifford is part of a growing movement called Free Men on the Land. Free men believe the laws of the state are a contract citizens can choose to opt out of.
Hello, everybody. Dean Clifford here again.
How many people are taught their fundamental basic human rights in school? When you're a kid, are you taught that you have the right to life, liberty, and property? No, they don't want you to know your rights. And they want you to believe it's so complicated you couldn't possibly understand it. So you better go get a lawyer.
After his recent seminar in Victoria, we sat down with Dean where he told us that his rebellious attitude began about 16 years ago, after Canada Revenue informed him that he owed what Dean believed to be was an unfair amount of taxes.
I was trying to figure out how Canada Revenue Agency could possibly have so much power to just step in and seize bank accounts and put liens on houses, and it just seemed like nobody, they were just this all-powerful thing that could just come in and just destroy you, which was really shattered my illusions about what a country was supposed to be and what government is supposed to be.
We could take you in somewhere where you can get insurance, okay? And then instead of me towing your vehicle, I know you're worried about me seizing your vehicle, which I don't want to do if I don't have to.
Well, and I believe you don't. Well, nothing I do is illegal because I already have the right to do it. So you cannot license a right, because if it's a right, then it's not illegal. We didn't get our rights from the government. The government recognizes that they were pre-existing. It means they were here before government, they'll be here after government, which means we didn't get them from the government, which means the government can't take my rights away from me.
I'm not a lawyer that's
Yep.
going to argue.
Now, actually, Section 52 actually clearly states that the Charter is the supreme law of Canada.
Yep.
So I got reading into it a lot more, and I discovered, well, it turns out that I have the right to drive. There are roads. We built them. It was our money. It's our land. I don't need permission to be on my own roads. And I was right. I win that every time.
I've had no license for a couple of years now. Actually, it's about 6 years.
He spent over 2 weeks in jail, but has never been convicted. And he's not afraid of getting arrested again.
Well, I better just do what they say because I'm scared they're going to come and kick my door in and throw me in jail or beat me up or maybe taser me to death. Okay? That's not what freedom is supposed to be. We're not supposed to fear our government. So I got over that fear and I said, well, you know what? They may come and do that, but I may be stabbed tomorrow on the street. I might die of a heart attack. There's a lot of things that might happen. So I'm going to stop worrying about what might happen, and I'm just going to exercise what I know are my rights.
This will be the continuation of the video where I'm going to start to teach everybody out there where law comes from.
People have fought and died by the millions for freedom. If the worst we have to worry about in this day and age is a couple of weeks in jail to stand up for yourselves, our forefathers would be ashamed of us if we were scared of that compared to what they went through to try to make sure that we live free.
But what if we all start to follow Dean's lead? If we all stop paying property taxes and putting plates on our vehicles, who will pay for Medicare, road repairs, garbage pickup?
Government is too big. They take in too much money, they waste too much money. It's not my duty or my obligation to fund a bloated, ineffective government structure. They can downsize and they can provide us with the essential services that they were mandated to provide us in the first place. Gasoline taxes pay for the roads. Okay? Importing and exporting tariffs, excise taxes, and things like royalties paid on the resources that are mined and forested and fished are supposed to pay for the essential services. Why is it my responsibility to keep giving them more money because they can't live within their mandate? It's not. It's actually my duty to cut them off when I think they're being irresponsible.
Dean discourages protests and acts of violence. Instead, he wants Canadians to educate themselves.
Don't take my word for it. Go and look it up yourself. And don't take their word for it. Go look it up yourself. Always be wary of the man that claims to be your savior.
Yeah.
He's trying to sell you up the river.
And some people could say the same thing about you. They'd be watching this and they go, well, this sounds pretty good. I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what Dean's doing. I'm going to stop paying this and paying that, too.
Except I'm not claiming to be anybody's savior.
In Victoria, I'm Dan Kahn.
There is a great evil walking the land dressed in blue shirts and black. And whether it's in blue shirts or brown shirts, we all know evil when we see it.
Ruin your night. You want to try me? Do you want to try me, young boy? You want to try me tonight, young boy? You want to go to jail for some reason I come up with? You want to see who knows the law better, me or you? Try and talk back. Talk back to me again. And I bet I can say you resisted arrest or something. You want to come up with something? I come up with 9 things.
I love this republic. I'm grateful for what's left of our rapidly eroding rights. No other nation in history ever guaranteed the rights of the people like this nation. But Jefferson predicted the private banks and corporations that have grown up around them are too interested in controlling the market and the people by using the elected. That's why there's no pharmaceutical control, only stupid ideas like gun control. That's why the elected bailed out the banks instead of the people the banks tricked. Would a junkie try to arrest his heroin dealer? Too big to fail? Right. Too big for jail, more likely. So there you have it. It's just like the end of Rome. The people get complacent and just don't give a shit about anything except their personal pleasures and the free bread tossed to them in the stands of the Colosseum. America isn't a country any longer. America is a business. So be it. But does it matter if you obey the law, if the government breaks the law? Should we be like the politicians? And what we do is only illegal if we get caught. That's what it's all about now. Figuring out how to keep your money and body out of the hands of the elite. Franklin gave us a republic if we could keep it, but we lost it. But we can get it back with a fight. Get educated. Move to Texas, the last great republic. Exercise your freedom, where people own guns. Get a gun, or several, and learn how to shoot. It's fun, and you never know. It may be your only hope to survive now. But you might be part of a growing majority that has had enough of the brutality. It only takes one brave soul to jump in and inspire others to muster some backbone. We are, after all, the overwhelming force the government is afraid of. 90 million armed citizens against 2 million federal troops. They are hopelessly outnumbered. You might not care about tomorrow, but you might care about how your grandchildren think about you. If you want a life less ordinary, join us. Stand up against tyranny and lead. My name is Tiberius Franklin. I'm a descendant of Benjamin Franklin, and I care about this republic. The Jeffersonian Sleeper Cell Network is a peacekeeping force. The Army of the New Republic is the army of the people, made up of veterans and police that want to stand up for your freedom and your rights. We are the Oath Keepers. Remember this one? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Leadership is not a position. It's measured by your actions. We are the Army of the New Republic, and we will stand up and take our place in history. Because honor has no price, but it has an epic place in history.
That's a selection from Hugh's inbox, and apparently he gets tons and tons of wild and wacky and actually like poignant video. That was I really like crop circles, but the police brutality stuff, that is very important for people to be aware of, and it's happening. And we do have a little bit of an update. The London Police Service has posted on their website, actually, where did it go? There it is, that the resulted in charges. This is Mike Roy and Bailey Goldman Sagan. So yeah, the charges seem to be that the investigation began after graffiti was painted on a wall of a downtown building. I'm not just another brick in the wall, on June 5th, 2013. So that is actually before the Enbridge occupation at the pump station. I think that we should paint that everywhere, on every brick wall, in every city, just to remind ourselves the importance of being a unique individual.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Very good idea.
It is an idea. It's an idea. I don't know. It's a good song, but yeah. Hey.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that I have brick on my building, and I keep getting tagged. It's interesting. And then someone washes it off because it's not really like my building. I had this one tag that was really beautiful. It was a face, a very androgynous face, and it's getting all over Toronto. It's really gorgeous. I put a picture of it on my Facebook page. Maybe I'll share it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. But so then they washed that really beautiful one off, and now it's something illegible. But I think I might go and paint with yellow paint on the brick on my wall.
You could do that Save the Queen thing.
I can spray paint this as well right beside it. That'd be good. So yeah, what other imagery or messages do we need today?
Well, we have to get ready for Mark Manuel and the Trust Agents TV coming up at 12 noon.
Oh, it's close. It's 10
very
to.
close. Everyone has left the building except for you and me, Veronica.
I know, we're holding ground here. Standing ground. Oh, dear.
Standing ground. But I have a lot of other interesting videos. So whenever you're ready, we can, and funny videos too. They're not all serious like that last video.
I would like something funny.
Funny?
Yeah.
All right, well, okay, so maybe what we can do is whenever you're ready, we'll sign off. Do you think? Are we ready to sign off, or do you want to watch a video first?
No, I can sign off now and let the video take us out, and then I'll be online on the live stream chatting while Mark Manuel's doing his thing, which is really exciting, and taking care of some pictures on the Facebook and the social exchange. So.
Okay, so I'll just keep the videos running. They will be a mixture of political content, humor, interesting stuff, just really just stuff that shows up in my inbox, and then we'll get ready for Mark Manuel and Trust Agents TV coming up at noon. Beautiful. And just everybody, thanks for tuning in today and checking out the show. So we'll keep you entertained and informed while we get ready for Trust Agents and Mark Manuel.
Thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. And until next time, keep it real.
What's up, man? Oh, it's so good to see you. Hey, buddy. Oh, I know I saw you this morning, but it seems like it's been forever. We gotta celebrate. What do you want to do? Hey, let's go throw this puppy around, huh? Go outside, get some fresh air?
Yeah, sure. Right? I'll put my stuff down.
All right.
What's up, Jimmy?
Hey, man. What are you doing? Are you cooking? Do you need any help? I can help.
No, I'm good. Actually, where's the basil?
Bottom drawer.
What is this?
I'm so sorry. I don't even deserve to be here. I'll just go get paper towels and clean it up and leave.
We're out of cereal.
Your friend's weird.
Yeah, I don't think he likes you. He doesn't really like anyone. Oh. What's up with you? Jimmy, no. No.
Hey, don't worry. I got this.
That's a good boy.
Do the Shrub. Hi, I'm Robin Asbell, author of Sweet and Easy Vegan and Big Vegan, and I blog, teach, and advocate for real food. For longer than I've been in the natural food business, there have been apple cider vinegar devotees, people who stock up on large bottles of Bragg or other organic unfiltered cider vinegars and actually claim to drink vinegar. To be honest, I always thought it was a little weird, but lately I'm thinking that they were on to something. You see, that homely bottle of vinegar is actually a probiotic, contains acetic acid, and could well be an old-timey remedy for our very contemporary problems of blood sugar imbalance and obesity, and possibly even high cholesterol and heart disease, and it makes a great window cleaner. People have been using cider vinegar as a home remedy for hundreds of years, and most of the claims made for it are pretty anecdotal. But when controlled studies are done, cider vinegar comes out strong. In a 2004 study, people who took 2 teaspoons of cider vinegar and water before meals had markedly lower blood glucose after eating. They also lost weight. In a 2007 study, diabetics who took 2 tablespoons before bed had better blood sugar levels the next morning. Cider vinegar appears to promote weight loss, too. In a 2009 study, people who took acetic acid lost weight, lowered waist size, and had better triglyceride numbers. And multiple animal studies have shown both weight loss and less fat stored in the liver of vinegar consumers. In rats, cider vinegar has lowered blood cholesterol and raised good, but so far there's not conclusive human studies on this. So how can you get cider vinegar into your life? I've been playing around with mixing it into drinks. In the big cocktail boom we are currently experiencing, old school drinks are being rediscovered. One such drink, popular in colonial times, was called a shrub. It was a mix of water, syrup, and apple cider vinegar, and it was served as a refreshing repast with a hint of tonic qualities. Yes, it often had booze in it, like any good folk medicine cure. My latest shrub is just a simple mix of fresh apple juice, cider vinegar, and sparkling water. If you don't have a juicer, you can use bottled cider. Just pour half a glass of juice or cider, add a couple teaspoons of vinegar, and top it off with sparkling water. Taste it. See if you can take more or less vinegar. Drink half an hour before lunch or dinner. Try this for the whole month of December and see how your December weight loss plan goes. Remember, sometimes old remedies really work. For more, click through to my blog at robinasbell.com/robinwrites.
Dr. Caldwell, I've seen a couple of your videos in the past, and one of them I thought was interesting that you said every cancer can be cured in 2 to 6 weeks. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and what are some of the ways that that's possible?
In my experience, every cancer can be cured in 2 to 16 weeks. Some cancers can be cured in minutes because every doctor in the world that's in office for 20 years or longer knows cases of spontaneous healing. There's even a book out called Spontaneous Healing by a guy I really don't like, and just stating that there are cases of spontaneous healing. That means if it's possible, we just have to find a way to access this. That's number one. So we all know about these. It also happened very often when people go to Lourdes or to these religious places, and it's not really the place that cures them, it's the expectation and the way to that place that cures them. The second, you get rid of acidosis and toxemia. The second, the body gets alkaline and oxygen rich with juicing a lot of greens like chlorophylls. Everything that's green has a lot of chlorophyll, gives the body a lot of oxygen. Getting your body alkaline with good calcium, with good nutrition, with good trace supplements, trace minerals, will help to alkalize the body. So that means the second you are alkaline, the cancer already stops. It can take a couple of days, a couple of weeks, but it stops. You get the body to a healing pH level, which the pH scale goes from 0 to 14, so 7 is neutral, and you need to be slightly alkaline. 7.36 is ideal. But in the healing phase, you should go up to 7.5. It's a little bit over-alkalizing the system. A great friend of mine, Dr. Martin in Germany, is using oxygen more step therapy, for example, where you take the blood out, you get ionized oxygen, and you lead the blood back in, and you do this 12 times, and you have basically brand new blood like a newborn baby. So you already eliminated the lack of oxygen. You see the blood coming out looks like black. They put the oxygen in and it becomes pink. And it's like legal doping. You get it and you feel so energized and you're so vital. And there are, we know basically with what I used, what my MDs in Europe used is vitamin C injections, intravenous vitamin C injections, 100 cc's a day, 3 times a week. That's what we used in certain cases more often. And very often, believe it or not, in my personal experience, the tumors or the cancerous growth was basically gone within a couple of days. And because vitamin C is so powerful and one of the greatest healers out there, you can fix nearly every heart problem, cardiovascular problem with vitamin C. They want to take it off the market. So it's going to become a prescription medication, and then it's synthetic and will not work anymore, like vitamin E. Vitamin E basically helps you to cure very easy and fast blood pressure problems in any way, shape, or form. That's why they made a study with artificially created vitamin E, chemical created vitamin E. Said, see, it doesn't work. No, of course not. Chemicals don't work. Nature works. If nature creates a problem, nature creates a solution. Very simple and easy. If it didn't exist 100 years ago, you don't need it today. It's very, very simple. And when you want to help somebody to educate themselves, to eliminate his or her own cancer really, really fast, I would basically start instantly with a vegan diet or with a raw food diet. My friend Paul Nissan is one of the greatest raw food chefs. He has fantastic books out there about raw food, so it's accessible for a couple of bucks, how to do it. He has free videos all over his website. And I would go instantly on a raw food diet. I would go make sure, if I don't have a very rare kidney disease, to drink a gallon of water a day with half a teaspoon of sea salt in it a day, because we need salt for every body function. We need electricity. And this electricity can only be produced with enough salt, basically. So if you have a lack of salt, you have a blood pressure problem.
See, and we're not supposed to have salt, though, too, especially if we have high blood pressure. That's what we're told.
Okay, it's the opposite. The problem is they are talking about table salt. Very often, table salt is 1/3 glass, 1/3 sand, and 1/3 salt. So the glass or the sand is scratching the arteries, and they start to bleed. So now cholesterol goes there to stop it from, to make you survive, to stop it from bleeding, so that you don't bleed to death internally. So now they say the cholesterol all of a sudden is the cause of the high blood pressure because it narrows the blood ways. And that's completely absurd, because you die of not enough cholesterol. You do not die of too much. There are people with a cholesterol of 600, perfectly healthy, never been sick in their lifetime. So what do you do with a patient in a burn unit? You give them 20 to 25 hard-boiled eggs a day, because they know only cholesterol can rebuild brand new healthy cells really, really fast. Nearly 87% of a cell is built from cholesterol. So where does the new cell potential or foundation come from if you have a lack of cholesterol? Everybody should have at least 250 combined cholesterol. And then they tell you LDL and HDL are good and bad cholesterols. It's not even cholesterol. It's a protein that transports cholesterol. So they are too stupid to even narrow it down the right way. So if you look at the facts, and if you look what they know and what they don't know, you know that Dr. Gary Null stated it, and a lot of other people. The medical profession, the medical doctor statistically has the shortest lifespan of 56 years of age, the highest abuse rate of alcohol and drugs, the highest suicide rate. Only the psychiatrist is higher. And so you go to somebody that has the lowest lifespan, highest suicide rate, highest drug abuse rate, to ask them how to have a healthy, happy, long life. Yeah. I think we should rethink our way of thinking.
understand that what you call your economy is arbitrarily based anyway, isn't it?
Sure.
Isn't it just by your agreement
Sure.
that it works at all? Isn't it just an imaginary game? This is worth that. Okay. Didn't it used to be rocks and bones and stones and feathers and beads and all sorts of things? Now it's coin and paper, so it's just arbitrary. It's just what you agree to. A more solid economy would be basing it on the people themselves, their skills and abilities, and what they have to contribute to society. You'll get there. But the point is you don't have to worry about the collapse of the old system, because that's what needs to happen if you're going to have new systems. The trick is to create the new systems now so they will be in place when the old ones crumble of their own dead weight, because they no longer serve you. So seeing them start to break up and dissolve is actually cause for celebration, because it means you're on the verge of allowing yourself to know that there are new systems you can implement. But the point is, take action and make those new systems. Invent them, create them, be creative, be active, take action for its own sake. Again, not as a means to an end. For its own sake, because it excites you to do so. If it excites someone to invent, to create, to talk about, to share ideas of new economic systems just because that's what excites them, then that's what's going to create the new systems, and the synchronicity will take care of the timing. The new systems, when you have exciting people doing things because they're excited about it, just because they're excited about it, the timing will take place within the synchronicity automatically, and the new systems will be where they need to be, when they need to be there, when the old systems no longer serve you. That's how it works. It's automatic. It already works. You don't have to make it work. Just let it work. By going with the flow of it. By being who you really are. In a sense, by dragging your heels and not allowing yourself to believe that you will be supported in another way, just as you have been supported by this arbitrary idea, if you can be supported in your life by such an arbitrary, imaginary idea, why can't you be supported by another one that's actually even more concrete, because it's based on you, the true you, instead of the arbitrary one, instead of the arbitrary definition? Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Is this sinking in?
Yes, definitely. That...
You are supported all the time by creation anyway. If you weren't, you wouldn't exist. Why not simply allow yourself to know that whatever you decide to be supported, in whatever way you prefer to be supported, you'll be supported that way? Creation, in that sense, does not make that decision for you. It supports you in whatever way you say you believe you can be supported. So if you've been supported all this time, according to whatever belief systems you had at that time, by such an arbitrary, ephemeral, smoke and mirrors idea of economy, how can anything else be even more insubstantial?
Very good point.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Look through the illusion and understand that what you're shifting to is how to use the power of the illusion instead of succumbing to the illusion of power. You see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Use the power of the illusion. Don't fall under the negative ego assumption of the illusion of power. Does that help?
Yes, definitely.
Do you understand that you are all totally abundant?
Yes.
That's your natural state. You are supported unconditionally, totally, every second. Again, if you weren't, you wouldn't exist. The idea is that there really is actually no such thing as lack in the way that you typically define it. So let's go back to that idea of definition. What you experience, when you create the experience called lack, what you're creating is an abundance of lack. So if you have an abundance of lack, why not have an abundance of something you prefer? Because it's all abundance, it's just different kinds of abundance. You are never not abundant, you just have an abundance of lack when you experience the idea you call lack. It's not actually a lack of abundance, it's an abundance of lack. Most of the things on your planet you have backwards. For example, seeing is believing. No, believing is seeing. You see?
Yes.
You believe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more time about the rates.
The box is $9.95 a month, but if you sign up for 6 months and pay by credit card, it drops to $7.50.
Too much math for me.
Right, well, that's the savings of $245 a month.
What would you do?
She likes him.
We're not interested in her.
He's quite the salesman.
One of his many talents.
Subject approaching.
We got it.
Do I have to decide today?
Oh, of course not. Just take the form and let us know.
This form requires a lot of information.
This doesn't work.
Excuse me. What's the box?
401. The key doesn't turn.
401. What's your name?
Nelson. It was okay yesterday.
Oh, yeah. We had to change the lock. It was broken.
It wasn't broken yesterday.
And your card's out of date. There's no address.
This is my address. That's why I rent the box.
Well, we need to know where you work then.
Ibrahim, I thought that was you.
Who the hell is that?
He followed the subject in.
Check Face ID.
It's been a long time. Don't you remember? We met at the conference at Suleiman's.
Oh, yes.
No match yet.
Is that a gun?
Sure looks like it.
Our visitor has a weapon. As soon as I'm done here with my business, I need to talk to you about something. If you are not too busy, would you like to get some coffee? We could go down the street.
Sir, we need an emergency contact, an employer, friend.
Come on, Mr. Nelson, just give us a name.
You're spooked. We're gonna lose them.
I'll come back later. Pick him up.
Put your hand up. Put it down.
Everybody? I'm going.
Police, drop your whistle. Hold your fire. I'm a federal agent. Keep your hands where you can see them. FBI. INS.
Secret Service.
Wasn't one of those guys supposed to be a terrorist?
Hey guys, this is an article from the New York Times. It was written in July of 2001. Software is capable of copying any human voice. AT&T Labs will start selling speech software that it says is so good at reproducing the sounds, inflections, and intonations of a human voice that it can recreate voices and even bring the voices of long-dead celebrities back to life. So they call this synthesized speech, or voice cloning is what it's called. This particular software by AT&T was called Natural Voices. And down here they talk about, they say that it says, although scientists say the technology is not yet good enough to perpetrate fraud, Could the synthesized voices eventually be capable of tricking people into thinking they were getting phone calls or digital audio recordings from people they know? Okay, so those of you that are TIs maybe, or you've watched my playlist on my channel called My Story, you're going to know that I had a personal experience with this technology in 1995 or 96, and I'm here to tell you it was in perfect working condition by 1996 at the very, very minimum, 95. I got a phone call from somebody claiming to be my mother. I thought it was my mother at that time. I was completely unaware of any type of technology like this. Had no clue at all that anything even like this could ever even exist, and I didn't even have the capability of even imagining something like this. I'm thinking I'm just talking to my own mother over the phone. She starts telling me to do these things that I knew my mother would never say. So I'm here to tell you, this is already happening. It's been happening since 95 at the very, very minimum. So that's why I'm making this video. I want to raise awareness about this. Speech synthesis, they call it. Right here, speech synthesis or voice cloning. So they have this, they interviewed this actor that AT&T had hired to do voiceovers. And he says it was a little unsettling, just like you can't trust a photograph anymore, you won't be able to trust a voice either. So I think that there's kind of a general consensus among the average population that a photograph can be photoshopped, for example, or a video can be edited and photoshopped. So people realize that when you see something on YouTube, it might not be real. It might look completely real, but still it might not be real. So I think the average person is thinking very critically in terms of video and photographs. But what we need to do, or what I've been trying to do for the last couple of years, is raise that awareness up a couple of notches so that we are all of the understanding that voice can also be cloned. So when you answer a phone call from your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your best friend, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, to have that awareness that it is possible, it is a fact that that person that you love or care about, their voice can be cloned. Not only can your Facebook be hacked into if somebody wanted to do it, but your text messages, your